everybody. Today, I want us to talk about the 4 steps that we as teachers can take to make sure our students are successful on their ECRs. So let's go. Now, just a quick reminder, an ECR is an extended constructed response. It is a short essay that students write about an inferential question based on something they've read. They will have one ECR item on their STAAR assessment starting at 3rd grade. It's important because kids need to know how to write about what they read. Also, it's worth 10 points, so that's about roughly 20% of their score. So let's make sure we follow the steps so everyone is successful. The first step that teachers can take would be to make sure you're understanding and really familiar with the ECR question format. Regardless of the grade level, all ECRs look very similar. So if you know the format and you can break that down for students, it's going to be a lot easier for them to navigate. Step number 2, make sure you know the writing rubrics for your grade level, the argumentative opinion, as well as the informational, and that you're familiar with the information in the constructed response scoring guides. The third step would be to get your eyes on as many scored ECR essays as possible. If you're a 4th, 5th, or 6th grade teacher, ask for the ECR essay PDFs for your students for this school year. That way, you'll know where you're starting and you can look for some trends and patterns across those essays as well. And then the 4th step would be to take the information from the ECR format, step 1, the rubrics and scoring guides from step number 2, and then of course the information you glean from looking at those scored essays from step number 3 to make a comprehensive ECR plan. Come on with me and I'll show you more. So that first step is familiarizing ourselves with the ECR question format. So to do that, you want to make sure to go to and be very familiar with, if you're not already, the texasassessment.gov site. This is the Cambium platform where students will take their actual STAAR assessment. So you can see that's where I am. Go to practice test login. You're just going to keep clicking through. You can be a guest, click sign in. Select a grade level. I'm going to pick 4th grade. You can choose between either the release or the practice sets. I'm going to go ahead and choose STAAR release test. Then we'll go down to reading language arts, and I'm going to go to it'll say start the 2023 STAAR grade 4. It's going to think I'm taking the test, which I'm not. I'm just going to look around. So push select. It's going to ask you if you want to begin the test and click there too. Now, the way you'll see it structured is this, the reading selection will be on the left and then the questions are on the right. You've got the next button up here, and then these are the questions that they have to answer. Traditionally, we have seen the ECR question around the middle of the assessment, around question number 25. So just to get there quicker, I click through the different questions, go back up to the left and push next. It'll give me a warning. It's okay because I'm just looking at the test. Again, I'm going to go just click through, click next until I get to item number 25 or around there. When you see the big box, that's how you'll know it's the ECR. Short constructed responses are short questions, ECR are long. So when you look at it, they're all structured the exact same way. On the left, it looks like they had to read an informational piece called the Austin Secret Salamander. So I can see that text here. And then the box, it tells them exactly what to do. Now, we did see the first year of STAAR redesign 2022, where it had the very first ECR. Many students scored a 0 because they didn't address the prompt. So to me, that's the most important piece for students to find. It's going to be the second sentence. It's right here. This is the prompt of what they're being asked to write about. Explain why the Edwards Aquifer is important in the article. So one thing you want to make sure students know is they don't just get to write about anything when they see this box. They need to look at the second sentence, find the word explain, and then it's going to say either explain why or explain how. That's what we've seen thus far. From there, it will give them the rest of the prompt. We also use this to teach them the very first step of developing a central idea, an informational, or a claim if it's argumentative writing. So this is the most important part for them to find. It'll then remind them that they're going to write a well-organized composition, followed by some bullet points. These are probably the most important bullet points, I would say, of the question, this being the most important. They need to be sure to clearly state a central idea. They want to make sure, again, that they're organized in their writing, and that will come into play when we talk more about the rubric and the scoring guides. Also, that they've developed their ideas and used text evidence. Finally, they need to make sure their writing is polished using what we call cups, right? Capitalization, usage, which would be grammar, punctuation, and spelling. This bottom bullet point section just reminds them of how to manage their time on this question. And then the fact that they type their response in the box provided. So take a look not just at the fourth, but also go through the other grade levels. You will see always that second sentence will start with the word explain. That's going to be the prompt, and everything else will really look similar. So the more you're familiar with that, the more we can teach kids when they see it, how to determine what's most important to pay close attention to within it so they don't just skim over. So this goes along with our step number 1. Spend some time looking at what kids have been asked to explain in years past. So for step number 2, knowing the writing rubrics as well as the constructed response scoring guides, you're going to want to go to tea.texas.gov, and that will pull up the Texas Education Agency website. So if you, I'm here now, so you can see that. And then if you go to the quickest way would probably be just to put in student assessment. I don't know why it's doing that. Go to student assessment, scroll down. We'll want to look at STAAR. And then on the STAAR resource page, we're going to go to the RLA resources and click there. If I pull down, you'll now see the rubrics as well as the constructed response scoring guides. Just a side note, the assessed curriculum as well as the blueprints can be found here as well. The assessed curriculum telling you which TEKs are eligible and will be eligible for assessment on STAAR. And the blueprint, again, reminding you about the question number, informational versus literary text, things about the writing and the reading as well. So the blueprints can be downloaded and saved. I would recommend that too. Now, for this, I would go ahead and click on the constructed response scoring guides. From there, you'll look at your grade level, whether you teach in English or Spanish. So I'll just go to the 5th grade. These can be saved as PDFs for you to refer to back time and again. The scoring guide will give you some general information. It will then give the example. So this is a fiction literary text that they had to read in 5th grade called The Camping Trip. After you see the text they had to read, then this is the prompt. You could also see the same thing by looking at the release test. What's nice that follows is the rubric. Now, the rubric's organized in two ways, the organization and development, and that is scored up to 5 points, followed by conventions. Conventions can score up to 2 points. So if they get, for development and ideas, up to 3 points, and they get 2 points for conventions, that's based on the best score you could get, which would be a 5. Now, remember, the essays are put through 2 programs, and then the score is doubled. So if one program gives it a 4 and one gives the essay a 3, the combined score would be 7. So even though the rubrics are on a 5, remember 2 readers are looking at it for that combination score. Also, it's worth noting, and it's right here. Let's see if I can highlight this for us. If you didn't know this, it's really important to kind of think about. Please note that if a response receives a 0 in the development and organization of ideas, the response will also earn 0 points in the conventions. Students cannot get convention points without getting at least a point in the development and organization of ideas section of the rubric. Following the rubric in the scoring guide, you will then see the student sample responses. So these are actual student responses. It will give the points they earned, what they typed, and then the rationale for the score. And you've got a couple of different examples throughout so you can see. Now, if you just wanted a copy of the rubrics, you'll go back to the resource page, go to the writing rubrics, and here's where you can see these. So here's the 3rd through 5th argumentative. There it is in Spanish, the 3rd through 5th informational, the 3rd through 5th Spanish informational. Remember, 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders, the 2 eligible types of writing for ECRs would be either argumentative or opinion or informational writing. 6th grade, it's informational, argumentative, or correspondence. So these are the rubrics for that. If you open one up, for example, this one should look familiar because we just saw it embedded into the constructed response scoring guide. But again, there it is for your information, just to have the rubric. So step 3 is, again, to get your eyes on as many ECR scored essays as possible. So I wanted to give you a quick visual on one way you could do this. At the top left of this slide, you'll see a prompt. This was from the 2023 3rd grade STAAR release. Students that year had to read 2 selections. It was a paired selection, both on the same topic of recycling. After reading those, you can see I highlighted the prompt for you. Writers were asked to explain your opinion about why people should or should not be rewarded for recycling. You'll notice in the 3rd sentence, it asks students to write a well-organized argumentative essay. So the campus testing coordinator printed out the PDFs for us, also cutting off, omitting any student information so as not to breach confidentiality, because we did this as a 3rd, 4th, 5th grade team together. Printed those off, we sorted them by score, and then labeled them with Post-its. We also each had a copy of the argumentative opinion writing rubric, again, that we familiarized ourselves with a little bit better in step 2. So now we want to see how this impacts our campus. From there, we analyzed each score together to look for any trends. We wrote on the essays as far as what they included or what we thought might need to be addressed. One thing that stood out to a lot of teachers, it's really not about the length of what they write. It's really about the organization and the development of their ideas. So definitely important to teach kids a text structure of an essay and make sure they can follow that to create a nice cohesive piece. Now, if you are able to get the scored ECRs from your students based on their last year's STAAR, that's when you can use them for an activity this way. But I'd also recommend taking that a step further into doing some goal setting with them, moving forward in their ECR writing so they have some concrete steps and know where they need to go next with their essay. So step 3, getting your eyes on them to make you more of an expert of using the scoring guide and the rubric should really help you as we move into our last step. And last but not least, we are on to step 4, creating an ECR plan based on our first 3 steps. So this is a free document I will link in the comment section below the video in case you're interested in a draft plan that then you can adapt based on your students' needs. In this plan, you'll notice just some other things to think about in addition to the 4 steps we've discussed, followed by grade level calendars that recommend time of year, what to focus on, and then the resource links if you need them, or feel free to supplement with your own. Behind the grade level calendars, you will see a bill-in template. That way you can customize it to the needs of your students, your campus, and your district expectations as well. So, hopefully, going through this conversation about the 4 steps to be ready and prepared for ECR writing, you will be confident in your instruction and kids will be successful on their ECRs. Have a great year.